pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the
Republic of which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know,
Way to go, Dino.
flag monitor this week.
All right, folks, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the reorganization meeting on July 7th? John and Tony, questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Yeah, the minutes are
Abstain.
approved.
Oh, Christina.
Christina abstained.
Oh, Christina abstained. Yeah.
And so, do we have any public comments on the agenda items? Okay, so nothing there. Okay, now we're off to reports. So for the board at the Board of Education retreat that we had scheduled for August 3rd, that has been postponed for the time being. We've got a lot of things kind of going on as far as the reopening, the school reopening committees that we have going on, and the report that we have to get done by the 31st. And so we felt that it was just too much of a strain trying to get everything done at the same time. So we're going to put off the retreat for ourselves for a later date, and we'll try to figure that out here shortly. But for the time being, it's to be announced or to be determined for the near future. Does anyone have any questions on that or any concerns? All right. On that note, that's all that I have. Off to the superintendent.
Okay. For the board retreat, we appreciate that. Things have been a little fast and furious here with trying to put together these plans. And to be honest, the reason we needed to postpone it is we just haven't figured out how to get the donuts to everybody. Quick update on our capital improvement project. Cliff, you have something to share?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I just have a couple pictures I'd like to show. So I'll share my screen here. Let's see. I thought I was going to share it. Hey, but yeah, here it comes. Okay. If you can see that. This is the outside of our middle school and African Road Elementary school complex. So you can see we're adding 2 new entranceways. And the idea behind this is so there's distinctive entrances for the middle school and so when people come up to this building, they will see that. Also, part of this is in each one of these areas, there is a secure vestibule, which for safety and security of staff and students is very essential. So that is going to be incorporated into this capital project. So that's just an exterior view of that. And here is just another angle of the same building. So this is the first thing that you see there. The first structure is the African Road Elementary. So it'll come along pretty nicely there. The next picture here is Clayton Avenue. And this is a secure vestibule there where they're creating that. They had the concrete done and they're starting to set some steel for that secure vestibule. Notice that'll be to the right of the main entrance. So guests would come down next to that cinder block wall, and they will enter the secure vestibule there to check in, and then they would turn left into the building. The door will be controlled by the personnel in the building. So that's at Clayton Avenue for a secure vestibule. And then this is the work at Tauga Hills Elementary. So they've taken down that roof. You can see the awning that is taken down. They've been starting to dig, and they're addressing some drainage issues. And then they're going to be set the concrete for that entranceway to be a secure vestibule there also. So I just wanted to share that with you and show you the progress that's happening there at for the capital project at those 3 buildings. So thank you.
Any questions? A lot of work going on right now on these buildings, and it's nice to finally see these secure vestibules going in. We're hoping that it would have taken place a year ago, but we're starting to see it happen now. So thanks, Cliff. Laura, just quickly, you have anything for student orientation or the open houses you wanted to share? Or were we going to wait for the next meeting on that? I didn't see if I'd be able to talk to you on it.
Hey, Laura, you're muted.
Unmute Laura.
I can speak to it now if you want. We really don't have anything concrete to say. If anything, Jeff, with all of these, we're looking to build, trying to juggle, I'm using the phrase a lot, toggle between in-person and virtual. So at this point, we're still planning for student orientations and open houses.
Okay.
Working on the calendar for that, and trying to conceptualize what that would look like in a more virtual setting. So
Okay.
I'm currently working with the administrative team on that calendar and format.
Okay, so we'll hold off on that till a future meeting then. And you wanted to share the professional development calendar or the professional development for the summer?
Well, yeah, it's the board should, if you just review this document, I know Kay sent it to you. This is the document has been revised, and so the more recent version, there's just one correction I want to make. It's in terms of the total enrollment. So what you have in front of you is pretty much a list of all the summer professional learning we are overseeing. And one would think, well, you know, you're closed for the summer. No one's upstairs, no one's in the building. But the reality is in the next 2 months, we'll be offering 57 days of professional learning. The one correction I want to make is the total enrollment. All told, we'll be bringing 637 faculty through workshops. The typo has to do with the building planning team. It's 563 and it really should just be 63. So I excuse that correction. I think nonetheless, 637 faculty, that's the enrollment of our total enrollment of workshops. This is all happening virtually. The other point I want to make is based on all of the surveying and feedback from our faculty in June and just our experience last year, this professional learning directly reflects the needs of the inquiries of our faculty in terms of what they wanted, and as well as what our families and students need. So you'll notice those areas that have an asterisk next to them, that's actually curriculum realignment work. So looking at what happened last year from March until June, recognizing that there was a sudden disruption in the pace of learning, those workshops are actually dedicated towards looking at curriculum and making curriculum realignments to address lost learning or the restructuring of learning for the fall. So that's one area that we've been working on. Another area, it's listed as CRT, culturally responsive training, trying to build into this some work around understanding issues of diversity, implicit bias, and anti-bias training. Culturally responsive training or practices is very significant if you look at any documentation from the state, even the guidance document right now on the reopening of schools. There's a strong emphasis on the need to develop sensitivity to issues of race, class, and ethnicity and gender. So we've tried to integrate a little bit of that into this. Hopefully we'll do more as the year opens up. And then a lot of this is technology. We're looking at Google Classroom. As a district, we will be adopting K-12 Google Classroom as a platform. At the same time, we have some teachers still using a platform called Schoology. And we will be having this year to transition teachers out of that. But we recognized, our parents all said we need one platform. Our kids actually said that too. So in response to that, we're building that professional learning to help our faculty be fluent in that. Another thing I want to point out is a name here that's new to us. It's called, her name is McNamara, Marissa McNamara. She's actually our new tech integrationist. Now, she officially doesn't start until September, but she has some summer hours through BOCES. And I have to tell you, we have fully enlisted her. So she's already working with our faculty. She's been very well received. So it's really been nice to have Marissa on board to help out. So the workshops we're offering around Google Classroom, strategies and safety using Zoom, this format, not just using it, but also making sure that when you use it, students and staff are secure in the use of it. Looking at different response, eDoctrina is another area of, and eDoctrina is an assessment tool that our teachers requested a training on. So this shows a real blend of resources to help our teachers with both virtual and in-person learning. And so far, it's going pretty well. Teachers have expressed to me that they've really enjoyed these opportunities. Questions? All righty then. Well, thank you.
Thank you. So next, we just want to quickly get into an update on our reopening plans, where we're at with our committees and so forth. Early last week, we got the guidance package from the Department of Health. And then toward the end of the week, Thursday afternoon, I believe we got the guidance from the State Ed Department. So we've got two documents that we've been working through. We have created a number of different committees, and I'm going to let Cliff and Laura give you some update on those committees. But we have to have a plan in place, and our deadline is July 31st. Not so much to submit the actual written plan, but we have to put certain assurances forward. There's multiple pages of assurances that we have to make as a district, that a plan is in place, and it'll take August to put a lot of these plans into place. And again, the plans have to consist of in-person education, like a normal start of the school year, remote education, which is how we ended up last year, or a blend of the two, or a hybrid model. And that's what our committees are working on fast and furious here since the start of the week. I would like to say we put out a survey last week to the parents, asking questions. The students that they had in school, whether the elementary, middle school, high school, their thoughts of the students returning in person versus remote education or hybrid, questions on transportation and so forth. And we got good feedback. In fact, Laura will update you on that. But I think after the first day, we had, I think it was 1,200 or more responses very quickly. So it was good response there. And then over the weekend, working with Joe Herringshaw, the BTA put out a questionnaire to the teachers, and they were asking pretty much the same questions. The comfort level of providing instruction to kids in person, remotely, what the big concerns would be if they were in person, what we saw as our big obstacles. So from those two surveys, I think the committees have quite a bit of material to work with in trying to frame up a plan in moving forward. And again, I just want to say thanks. The board members that were interested in sitting in on the committees, we had Mario, John, Linda, Dino, and Christina. I believe, I think everybody's on a committee that asked, that was interested. So we appreciate your time for all that. And if anybody else is interested, we will put you on a committee. So feel free to sign up yet if you feel like it. And they are remote meetings. We're not bringing anybody into the school districts, but it is all done remotely. So a lot of work being done there. At this time, I'll turn it over to Laura and to Cliff. If you want to give updates on the committees that have met so far, and just a little background on those.
I could start, Jeff. I could explain the framework of our approach. So what we have is we have a governance body comprised of the Board of Ed president, superintendent, and the 2 assistant superintendents. And with that, we formed a steering committee that's comprised of about 25 people. And that's all stakeholders represented by the district. So we have obviously a Board of Ed individual, we have parents, students, teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, building and ground. We have district office administrators, pre-K directors. We have IT people, our business executive, and athletic director of food service. So with that, we have stakeholders throughout the district and the community to comprise of that steering committee. The steering committee's charge from the governance body is to form 5 subcommittees. And those 5 subcommittees would then tackle certain aspects of the New York State education guidance. This is a guidance packet for reopening schools. And it is like 145 pages long. So we take each of those 5 subcommittees, take as an aspect of that, and they really delve deeply into it to determine the criteria of success for reopening and coming up with a plan to match those criteria that are laid out in that document. So the steering committee, every member of the steering committee is working on a subcommittee, or most people are working on a subcommittee or multiple subcommittees to help create procedures that are in place that we could then use, that the steering committee would then use to create the document that the governance body would then submit to New York State. So with that, the 5 subcommittees are teaching and learning, health and safety, athletics, music and co-curricular, technology, and transportation. So we kicked off, the steering committee was last Thursday at 9 o'clock, and all these committees are handled via Zoom. And then beginning that last Friday and really Monday and Tuesday today, our subcommittees have been meeting. And we've pulled other people that are volunteering throughout the district to be on these subcommittees. And we have subcommittee chair people that are, their charge is to look at the guidance document, come up with those criteria of success, and then have some discussion and come up with plans or recommendations that on Friday is our next steering committee meeting. Then the subcommittees will present to the steering committee what the areas that they deem that would be most appropriate for us to compile everything into a document for New York State. So that's kind of the backbone of it all, and how we've organized this to make sure we have the very best plan for reopening that would benefit our students, our staff, and our school community. So Laura, if you wanted to explain any more. You're good. You're on mute.
Too much going on here. The guidance document has multiple subsections, and the way it works is we don't submit the plan to the state per se. As Jeff said, this is a situation where we write the plan, we post it on the website. We then go in, and Jeff will go in and verify a list of assurances. It's roughly 12 pages of assurances. So there's roughly 10 sections. For example, there's technology, social emotional well-being, special education, bilingual education, teaching and learning. And within each of those sections, there'll be a list of assurances. The district has a protocol for this. The district has a protocol for that. So the state's asking for the assurances, and that our plan is posted on the website. So it's a model they sometimes use. I've seen this with APPR, and that's what they're using here. Within that, there's a lot of moving parts, and I think both Cliff and I, as we've been jostling between all the different subcommittee meetings, trying to make sure that these committees all speak to each other. From the Teaching and Learning Committee, what is a substantial undertaking there will be to develop models for instruction. So Jeff mentioned in-person, hybrid, or remote models. And the language in the guidance document says that there should be some fluidity, that there can be some fluidity between those. But we are charged with providing at least a hybrid model that has some level of in-person and then a remote model. If we have to go to remote, what would that look like? So a lot of the work of teaching and learning over the last 2 days has been to build some models, and tomorrow we'll be meeting again, hopefully, to finalize what that instructional model, those instructional models would look like. There's conversation in the district, in the region, on what the state means by in-person versus hybrid. We're interpreting, the state has come back, there's different language. In the hybrid model, it's a combination of in-person where students show up in school, and remote where students work independently at home with different degrees of support. So our focus as a district has been on a hybrid model and then a remote model. It's been a lot of work, interesting conversations, and then ultimately weighing those models against, what is safe, and what will ensure the health and well-being of our staff and our students. And that is a very hefty consideration going forward. So that's been a lot of work. Likewise, technology, looking at equity of access, availability, access not just to devices but to the internet. That's been big as well. So a lot of good conversation. Jeff mentioned the survey. Jeff, I don't know how much you want me to speak to that. But we did issue a survey. We still have it open. And I don't know if any of you parents on the board, John or Lynn or Christine, did you get a copy of the survey for parents? Yeah, no? So we did survey parents, and at this point we're up to 900 responses, 1,900 responses, 1,900 responses. And that's been very telling. Cliff, you used some information today in one committee, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We used information about transportation, and we identified approximately 43. At this point, it was about 1,852 responses at that time, but about 43% of the parents that responded said that they would prefer to drive their children to school rather than putting them on a bus. So that's information that we can use to help guide that transformation, the transportation subcommittee.
Yeah. And similarly, it was a very simple survey, and it will close this Friday. But as soon as, I think we issued it on Wednesday night, and by Thursday morning, we had over 1,000 responses. So very simple questions. The first question is, at this time, would you be comfortable sending your student back to school in September? Very simple question. I can share my screen if you like. I think I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Is it on? Okay.
Yeah.
It's on a different screen than I'm looking at. So, but you can see, at this time, would you be comfortable sending your student back to school in September? Very telling. 41.7% said yes. 31.7% said maybe. And we have a lot of anecdotal responses there. And 26.5%, 27% said no. Again, that's just kind of a barometer of feelings out there. What I'm going to be very interested in is, I know Cliff, Jeff, and I really going through what the bottom portion here of those responses of why. If they answered no or maybe, we asked parents to go forward and then give explanations. And I am finding in the surveying, these responses, the written responses are very informative. So that's significant for us. Another question on the survey is, what is your preferred method of instruction for your student? 46% they would prefer in person. 35% said they would prefer a blended or hybrid approach where students attend in person on some days and stay home for remote learning on others. I was surprised by that number. 18.3% said they would prefer remote learning. So this is significant as well, because a little over half of our families support remote or blended learning, as opposed to straight in person, which would be just students showing up. And this was the transportation piece. I don't know, Cliff, if it's changed much since this morning when you looked at it. It seems very similar to what you had.
It's gone up slightly. It was actually 42.8 or something like that when we looked at it. So it's gone up a percentage point for that they would want to transport their own children to school.
Yeah, see, it's evolving. And again, we'll close it out on Friday, and that will be our at the end of it, because we're gonna have to do more surveying. But this is just a way for us to get a feel for what our families are thinking and feeling. But roughly then, a little less than half of our parents would be willing to transport. So again, as we're looking at different models, this might help us in terms of some of the restrictions related to social distancing on the buses. Just a good sense of where our families are at right now. And again, there's a lot of qualitative feedback here that we need to go through in terms of anecdotal. So one point I want to make is, as we were meeting with technology today, we realized that once we put this plan out there and we have a model, it's going to be important for us in sometime in August to do a very direct survey of our families around very specific questions related to the model, related to transportation, and related to technology. So this was more of a broad stroke, but we recognize that in August, we're going to have to be very specific in surveying our families to figure out what exactly their position will be going forward. So that will be our next initiative related to surveying. Any questions or comments? Okay.
A lot of information in a very short period of time. So, but it gives you an overlook of just what we are working with. And I just want to make it clear, all these committees, the plans that are going to be put together, it's the health and safety of our kids and our staff that's first and foremost. So the plans that are brought forward, they'll be derived from the questionnaires, from the input of the subcommittees, from all input from all the stakeholders. It's going to be tough to put a plan together that will please everybody. But if we keep the safety and health of our kids and our staff first and foremost, that will drive the plan. Now, once the plan is put together, again, it'll be on our website, but we'll bring it to the board and we'll do a presentation of that and get input from the board too on the final plan. So that'll be upcoming.
Jeff, would
Yes.
it be possible to send that to us before the meeting so we have a chance to look it over?
The plan itself?
Yes, once it's finished.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is going to be an open document. We'll be sharing it with the board, with the community, with the staff. Absolutely.
Okay. And another question I have, Jeff, if after the plan has been formalized, is there any sense of having to coordinate with other districts? Like, for example, if we decide to do total remote learning and UE decides to send all their kids to school, I mean, is that a realization? Can things like that happen?
It's district specific. Okay. district is taking a look at what plan best suits their needs. So will there be differences from district to district? Yes, there are. You have to understand the guidelines are put out, they're guidelines. It's not a directive that 700 and some public schools in New York State are going to be doing the same thing. They've been very clear. One size does not fit all. In the superintendent's meeting that we just had yesterday, getting the feedback from the different schools, everybody's doing a little bit different. Again, they're developing the plan, so there's nothing set in stone yet. But everybody's taking a look at it just a little bit different. Some districts, the majority of parents want their kids in school. That's it. In other districts, not so much. They're not ready to send the kids back to school. And so what does that plan look like? Again, we've got 3 phases or 3 scenarios. I think Laura was talking to. We have 3 scenarios that we're looking at. In-person scenario, which would be a normal school year. Remote learning is another scenario, which is how we ended up the school year last year. And then the third scenario is a hybrid, a blend of the 2. And I gotta say, what I'm hearing from the other districts seems to be the hybrid is probably going to be a popular method or scenario for the school districts. I gotta tell you, the guidance that have been put out, the CDC guidance, the Department of Health, there are some things, you take a look at that, we can't bring kids back in. We just don't have the facilities, the transportation department, we don't have the classrooms to be able to bring kids back in. So that really ties our hands to quite a bit. What the teaching and learning subcommittee is working on is, okay, if we bring them back, we pretty much know what that looks like. But if you have to have 6-foot space between desks and between students, we can't get a full class in a classroom.
Right.
So I think some of the very guidance itself gives us an indication we can't do a full in-person scenario.
Okay.
It's pretty much written for us. But the remote, the hybrid approach, that's what Laura and her subcommittee are working on. How can we best provide that type of instruction, and how can we do it better than how we ended up last year? I mean, we were able to get through the year, but we want to do better yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking a lot of time and a lot of different approaches to how that can best be done.
Jeff, can I ask
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't get a survey, and I don't know, are the families whose children are in BOCES services, do they receive the surveys as well, or is that different? Because I don't recall us getting a survey.
Yeah.
So if I could have that sent to us, I mean, I would assume that even if your children are in a BOCES service, that they would still get the district-wide survey.
It's still open, Lynn, so we'll make sure that gets out.
Okay, great, thanks.
Christina?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, as you mentioned, it's going to be impossible to put a plan together that satisfies or pleases everyone. And it does seem like people's opinions are pretty well split, and people are just knowing the state of the union. People are very passionate about their opinions with good reason. Will there be an alternative for any family that does not agree with the school's approach? I don't know if I'm wording that properly, but like if you say we decide to send everyone back and there are families that say absolutely not, is there something being incorporated for those families as well? And I know that's not an easy thing, but I think it's important to consider.
Yeah, I understand what you're asking, Christina, and it's something that the subcommittees are grappling with. And I think the example that you gave is a good one. It's just one scenario. if we decide to do in-person, full in-person education, if we have families that aren't comfortable sending their kids to school, how do we deal with that? Those are the questions that the subcommittees are working on, and what are our options? And again, a hybrid, could be a model where some, the kids are coming back into school, but there's also remote instruction taking place. So we're being open to ideas. We'll try and cover as many bases as possible. Hands on Laura and her subcommittee, so they'll have to give us the answers for that. Yeah, John?
Yeah, hi, Jeff. My question is, when we set the budget last year, none of this there wasn't a line item for coronavirus response.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming whatever plan comes up with, it's going to be some kind of budget impact. How does it work? You submit a plan to the state, and then along with it, can you request funding, or is that just wishful thinking?
I would definitely be willing to send them a bill for some additional funding. At this point, there's nothing. This is a plan that each district's going to have to struggle with, and we're limited to the budget that we have. Will there be some type of funding coming through from the federal government for this? It's hard to say. And keep in mind that we are still faced with a real possibility of the governor holding back state aid, and is the federal government going to help with that, or is that going to be on the district? So there's a lot of unknowns. One of the messages that I've put out there is, look at, we have to do all this planning. We have to look. We have to be flexible. We have to come up with these plans. There'll be a change in instruction and how we do instruction. And people, we have to do it with our current resources. And even that's a stretch if the governor comes through and cuts our state aid. I can tell you, it's easy. The plans that are being made through the 5 committees, there's a lot of ideas. We could do this, we could do this, we could do this. Oh, by the way, we're adding staff, we're adding that to our facilities, we're building new classrooms, we're adding bus fleets, and we're adding new cleaners and stuff like that. That's not in our budget. So that's a big struggle too, John. Will we in all likelihood be looking at our resources? Will we be making adjustments to our current budget? Yeah, we'll change budget lines, but we just can't add to them.
I kind of figured that was the case. One more question on transportation. I thought I heard in my years on the board, that the district is required by state law to provide transportation for students, whatever, 1/10 of a mile or further, or something like that, from the building that they're going to, whatever that number is. Has any of that requirement been, waived or relieved, or would you consider not providing transportation as a budget saver?
Yeah, at this point, none of the regulations have been changed. Districts are expected to put a plan together with the current regulations. Honestly, so that's a question for transportation. I mean, that's something that they're working on, that subcommittee. And as I think Cliff was talking, the information that came through from the survey, if parents are going to be transporting, if half of our parents are more apt to transport their kids, could that save on some of the transportation? It could. Speaking of the regulations, the 180-day attendance regulation set by the state, they're not given on that. we will have 180 days of instruction. And again, I think we can put a plan together. It'll come through the teaching and learning for the most part. I think we can make that 180. The question now becomes, there's a regulation that there's 900 to 990 minutes of instruction required for the year. We may need a waiver on that. Again, if you're doing remote or a hybrid instruction scenario, can you count 900 hours of instruction for the high school for a given year? That's going to look a little different. So right now, the answer is the regulations stand as they have for the past number of years. And our plans are going to have to live within that. Another question, John?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Did somebody else have a question? Lynn, did somebody I thought might have had their hand up? Okay. All right. Well, just know as this plan gets together, we will be bringing it to the board, and Tony, we'll keep it in mind to try and get it out to the board so you have a chance to look through it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
All right, now we move on to old business. We're going to continue on with annual appointments. A recommendation of 8193 for the district clerk stipend. Can I have a motion? Dino and John, questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The recommendation's approved. Recommendation B, 66,778 as the legal counsel stipend. Can I have a motion, please? Dino and Linda, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The recommendation's approved. Recommendation C, 5,000 as the health and safety coordinator stipend. Can I have a motion, please? Christina and Lynn, questions or comments?
Just so you know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just so you know that that stipend is an annual stipend renewal, and Joe Loretz is our officer, and he was appointed at the reorg meeting. We just didn't have the stipend in that reorg agenda. So he's already been appointed. This is something that he's been overseeing for the past number of years.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recommendation's approved. Recommendation, or rather appointment D of extracurricular treasurer. It's a recommendation stipend for the year 2020-21 for $3,422. Can I, questions or comments?
Motion.
I'm sorry, can I have a motion? Dino and John, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the appointment is approved. Can I have we're going to new business. Can I have a motion to accept schedules A, B, C, and P? Linda and John, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the schedules are approved. On to new business, resolution 1, services agreement for interpreter services. Can I have a motion, please? Tony and Lynn, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the motion is approved. Resolution 2, bid award for the New York geographic preference bid. Can I have a motion, please? Lynn and Linda, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion's approved. Resolution 3, the idea flow through funds agreement for 2020-2021. Can I have a motion, please? Dino and Tony, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion's approved. Resolution 4, evaluation services agreement with Tioga County Department of Public Health. Can I have a motion, please? Linda and John, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Resolution 5, acceptance of gift. Can I have a motion, please? Tony and Dino, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Motion's approved. Resolution 6, extension of agreement with the Vestal Administrators Association. Can I have a motion, please? John? And Dino, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's approved. Resolution 7, free reduced price meals or free policy statement 2021. Can I have a motion? Lynn and Dino, questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's approved. Resolution 8, memorandum of understanding with St. Bonaventure University. Can I have a motion, please? Dino and Linda, questions?
May I ask a question about this? Is this a student teaching, like a professional internship from the college?
It's a counseling internship. So yes, it would be a student.
And is there any type of compensation in college credits to the cooperating professional? Because it wasn't mentioned in the contract, that's why I'm asking. And I don't know if it is, maybe it isn't. I know years ago, if you had a student teacher or someone, an internship for professional training at school, usually there was some compensation to the cooperating teacher or teachers for college credits at that particular university.
It says there's no financial obligation to or from the university. I do not believe there is, Dino, on this particular one.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't, since it said that, and if there were, it should have been mentioned. So that's why I was asking.
Sometimes, you're right, sometimes there are programs where there is some compensation. But for this one, to the best of my knowledge, there's none attached to it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a Melissa O'Flanagan's going to be working with Rhonda Room.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Motion's approved. Resolution 9, declaration of obsolete equipment.
You just don't.
Very good.
Take the fun out of it.
Dino and Linda, because you're laughing. Questions or comments?
I want to comment that the pictures were wonderful. At least we knew, okay, this really has to go. When I read about the welder, I'm like, oh, I could use that welder machine. I'll fix it. And then I looked at it and I said, oh no, that can't happen, you know? So pictures are worth it.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion's approved. Resolution 10, building and district-wide school safety plans. I have a motion. Dino? Anyone? Linda? Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion's approved. Do we have anything else for voice of the public? Okay. So future board meetings, Tuesday, August 11th, it'll be a regular meeting, also via Zoom. Tuesday, August 25th at 6 p.m., another regular meeting, both here and via Zoom, and also a stream through YouTube. Tuesday, September 8th, there's a regular meeting. Also administration building, Zoom, stream through to YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
And the annual retreat has been postponed, and so that will be determined at a later date, and we will have that. We'll have that announcement when we have something to work with. At this moment, can I have a motion to adjourn into anticipated executive session to review the recommendations on the Committee on Special Education and the Committee on Preschool Education and a possible student issue? Dino, and John. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? We are adjourned into executive session.